Hey guys, welcome back to our channel.
So Sarah and I just finished watching The Ugly Stepsister.
Ever heard of it? Possibly not, unless you have a horror guru in your midst, like I do, Cassie.
Eh.
This is a Norwegian film. That's why we say this one might have skirted past you.
The movie is directed by Emily Blickfeld.
And then we have the whole happy family. The stepmother, Rebecca.
The stepsisters, Alma, the innocent younger sister, and Elvira, the older, ugly sister. Her words, not mine.
And of course, the lovely Agnes, aka Cinderella.
And let's not forget the uncharming and actual total douchebag of a prince, Julian.
He literally was a douchebag, actually. He
He,
was not charming in any way.
yeah. And wasn't it him and his group of friends who were like, I would never fuck her?
Yeah,
Ugh,
I
gross.
know, gross. But Elvira has a major crush on him. And the movie starts out with her having these kind of like dream-like montages where she's fantasizing about her time with the prince. And it was giving total Sofia Coppola vibes via Marie Antoinette. Then the big announcement comes. And this part I thought was so funny. I don't know, what do you call him? Like the invitation guy,
Oh,
the
yeah.
horse guy on the horse, right?
Yep.
He's coming to all the houses to deliver the invite,
hmm
and he's giving Agnes the invitation, and then he's like, oh, who's this? And it's her stepsister next to her, Elvira. And I thought it was so funny when he asked, what's your last name? And Agnes goes, well, she's my stepsister. And then he writes Elvira von
I
Stepsister.
know.
I thought that was so funny.
At least it sounds fancy because there's a Vaughn in front
There's
of
a
it.
Vaughn in it.
Yes,
But later at
yes.
the ball, when they announce her into the room, they also call her Elvira von Stepsister. I thought that was pretty funny.
And shortly after the eligible ladies come together to start practicing for the big dance, Elvira realizes she has some stiff competition with her new stepsister, Agnes.
And here's where all the body horror begins. And let's just say this movie gets real gory, you guys, with all these primitive procedures that Elvira, which we might be going back and forth on how to pronounce that one, starts to undergo.
If you have ever wanted or thought about a nose job, just be glad that we live in the age that we do now because this poor girl had to undergo a chisel to the nose with absolutely no anesthesia.
But she didn't stop you guys at just getting a nose job. She
Mm-mm.
needed her eyes to pop. And what better way to do this than what I think Cassie and I agree on is the most horrific part of the entire film, the sewing on of the fake lashes. Oh my God. This was the absolute hardest part to watch.
The close up on the eyes and all the different camera angles, I was literally having a panic attack in this moment.
And
Honestly, having
I know
an
you were.
honest panic attack.
Honest panic attack because it was so horrifying. Ugh, and you know how I feel about eyes. As soon as I
I
saw
know.
that doctor coming, like finger in towards her eyeball to like spread that stuff in there to numb it, I was out. Mm-mm. No, no.
I unfortunately stayed in and watched it all. I watched it all.
Thanks for taking one for the team for that.
And let's not forget the final procedure. She wanted to lose weight, and since they didn't have Ozempic back then, the next best thing was good old-fashioned tapeworm. She had to swallow this tapeworm egg, and then when the time came to finally rid herself of it, let's just say
Mm,
you feel like vomiting the whole time. And pretty much you're watching it like this.
yeah, it was horrifying. And it turns out basically the director was like, originally she was going to have her actually shitting out the tapeworm, by the way. And
I
then it,
probably feel like that would have been a little bit easier to handle than how she did expel it.
ew, but could you imagine watching that? Like, also, that feels very disgusting. Like, and so apparently, like, myth had it that back in the Victorian era, when they would use a tapeworm, that's how it would come out. So that she was trying to do it that way, but then it
Yeah.
was like just too horrifying. So she decided, let's have her vomit it out, which
Which is somehow still horrifying.
very horrifying. Honestly, this is definitely a fucked up version of Cinderella, you guys. But what I think you might find fun when you do watch it, if you choose to, is the nods to the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale.
Yeah.
And a couple things I'll point out about it that are these nods is one, They use nature as the magic and not like a fairy godmother. Also, when Elvira tears Agnes's dress, Agnes runs out and she's like laying on her dead dad's corpse, and these silkworms come out and repair her dress, which I thought was clever. And lastly, I loved that. And honestly, oh my God, this is seriously, I think, the funniest part of the whole movie, which is at the end, Elvira needs to fit into the shoe, right? The prince is coming. He's looking for the person who fits the shoe.
Mhm.
And what does she do? Which is a nod to the Grimm brothers. She has to chop off part of her foot. And she does
This is
this,
a funny part to you.
and she chops off part of her foot.
Chop off the toes.
Yes. And she cuts them off. And the funniest part is it's the wrong foot. And
Yeah.
so, right, she passes out from the pain, and the
Yeah.
mom is in there, and she goes, well, great. She cut off the wrong foot. So now the mom has to chop off the toes on the other foot. So now she has two bloody stumps. I just thought it was like comic relief. Like it was so funny that after all that, she didn't take 1 second to think about what shoe the prince would be having.
No, she was just thinking about cutting off them toes to fit. That was all she was thinking about. Man, it was so gruesome. What I will say is this: I loved this movie because despite the gore, it really is a solid horror film. There were solid acting performances from the cast, especially Leah Myron, who plays Elvira, having to go from one extreme emotion to another, walking that real fine line between villain and hero. I think she did an amazing job. The wardrobe and the wigs added so much to the ambiance of the film. The gowns were gorgeous, and we can truly see a real transformation with Elvira from her head down to her literal toes, or really lack
Black
thereof.
up. Nice.
The cinematography by Marcel Ziskind was both captivating and unsettling at the same time, transporting you back to the Victorian age, showing beauty and magic and juxtaposing it with that intense gore and honestly true discomfort because I was squirming on my couch.
Damn, girl. Well said. I like
Thanks.
it.
Thanks.
Honestly, overall, I think that that's what makes the movie so appealing is the relatability of the story.
Mhm.
They're taking like a classic fairy tale that we know, Cinderella, and they're making it more about really what it's about, which is like girls always encouraged to get the guy, pinning girls against each other, this like quest to land the hottest guy, become the hottest girl.
Yeah.
Tale as old as time, my friend.
Tale as
And
old as time.
and we still live in a society that still equates beauty with value. And that's so dangerous. And like you said, we see that in Elvira's journey, in
Yep.
her physical health, as she is trying to do all these things to make herself on the outside look a certain way. Her health does take a toll and it becomes pretty grotesque and kind of like her losing of the hair and her skin is getting all bad. My takeaway for this, you guys, is that the director wanted to use the story and the body horror genre to demonstrate like what societal pressure can lead individuals to compromise, and that's their well-being for the pursuit of beauty in this like ideal standard, and we got to get away from it.
Yeah,
Gotta
you're
just
totally
love
right.
thyself.
Yeah, this movie is definitely thought-provoking, mainly because it taps into the timeless struggle women face with impossible beauty standards. Who hasn't tried to chase that unattainable airbrushed look?
Yeah.
But like Elvira, the pain and the literal pain that she endures to achieve that perfect princess look is too real.
So listen, bottom line, you guys are here to find out should you watch the movie or not. I'd say if you want to know whether or not to watch the movie, know thyself. If you like horror and you don't mind gory, then this is totally worth a watch. But if you're at all squeamish, I say skip it and maybe instead go back and read the original book.
I, on the other hand, say that this is definitely worth watching. Yes, it's disturbing and often hard to watch, but it's also bold, it's emotional, and deeply reflective. I would say just skip the snacks on this one.
Definitely skip the snacks. Okay, guys, join us back here next week as we talk about Drop.
Starring Megan Faye and Brandon Skellner.
Until next time, you guys, enjoy the movies.
Bye.
Bye.